Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to lay out your plates. Now this is so important, and this is where most guys mess up. Please pay extra attention to what I'm going to show you right now, because we're going to be doing this exact same procedure to all the walls the whole way around the basement. There's a certain way to do it so that when the drywallers come to hang their drywall, there's going to be a stud exactly halfway between each seam in the drywall. And there's a certain way to lay it out. If you don't do it that way, you're going to drive your drywallers crazy. So if you're going to be subbing out your drywall, which I do recommend you do, please lay your walls out exactly this way so that your drywallers do not have a problem when they come and start to hang your board. So let's go down here into the first corner on the first wall. Look at our red lines down here. You can see we've got our two lines that we snapped 4.5 inches off the wall. This is where it all starts on your first corner. We always start in a corner somewhere on your exterior walls. Always start in a corner somewhere where two exterior walls begin. All right? You don't want to start with your interior walls. You want to build your walls in the same order that you laid them out. Okay? The same order that you laid them out. So this is the first wall that we snapped a red line on the floor for, and this is the rear wall of the house, and this was the next wall, the side exterior wall of the house. We're going to start in this corner. Here's what you're going to do. Remember, we came off the wall 4.5 inches. So what we're going to do on our plates is we're going to make a mark on our plates. We're going to hook on the end, and we're going to make a mark at 3.5 inches. Okay? 3.5 inches, and we're going to set a stud on this side. All right? When we're laying out walls, you're always putting an X on the side that the stud's going on. So pull a line 3.5 inches, and then set your X on the beginning of towards the beginning side of that stud. So 3.5 inches, X back. Now, the reason that we do that, and also I should be showing you, you should have one of these tri-squares. Get these at any superstore. They're just a little square that you can hook on your lumber to draw lines on your plates. So making sure that our plates are evened up, and these are two 16-foot pieces of lumber here that are exactly 16 foot. We're going to draw that line through both of the plates, like so. Alright, so we draw our line through both, we X both of them, okay? Whatever we do on the white plate, we do on the green plate. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start our tape measure, and what I like to do is I like to pull my tape measure the whole way down the plates if I'm working by myself. And most tape measures will have a lock on it, so lock your tape measure so that your blade stays out. And then come back down here and put the beginning of your tape on that 3.5 inch line. Just like that. Simple so far, right? Now we're going to lay out the actual stud locations in this wall coming off this line. And I'll tell you why we have that line on there at 3.5 in just a minute. But for now, let's put our tape on the 3.5 inch line mark and start to lay out our studs. Now, a lot of people think that you start at 16 inches because 2x4s are 16 inches on the center, but that's wrong, and this is where most people mess up. Pay extra attention to what I'm going to say right now, because this is where most amateurs blow it and the drywall is wrong. Instead of making a mark at 16 inches, we're going to make a mark at 15 1/4. I'm going to make a little arrow there. 15 1/4. All right? Now, I'm going to draw that line across there at 15 1/4. All right? Now, we're going to set our X's ahead towards the way that we're running our tape. Set ahead. Now, the reason I didn't go to 16 is because a 2x4 is 1.5 inches wide. And we want the drywall, I'll show you on this plate here, we want the drywall on our first stud in our wall, and I'm showing you on this plate because this is a 2x4. We want the drywall to be seamed in the center of a 2x4, which is 1.5 inches. So we have 3/4 and 3/4. So in order for this to work, since this line down here represents the corner of our basement, all right, where our drywall is going to start, we want to split that 1.5 inches. So we have to go to 16 and come back 3/4 of an inch, which is half of the thickness of a 2x4, and then set ahead. Now, okay, now once we do that, then what you can do is from that line forward, you can go 16 inches. All right? Let me say that one more time. 3.5 inches off the end. Make your line. run your tape out and lock it out. Put the end of your tape on that 3.5 inch mark and make your first mark for your first stud at 15 1/4 and set the marks ahead. And then what you can do is, and I'm going to shorten my tape here a little so it doesn't fall off the 2x4. Then what you can do is run them at 16 inches now. That's going to fall off there. All right, now you can put your tape on that first 15 1/4 mark, and now you can mark, make a little line every 16 inch mark on your tape. Most tapes have 16 marks on them. You just come down here, it'll be 16, 32, 48, 64, and so forth, the whole way down, every 16 inches. So you want to mark them the whole way down, every 16. The drywallers will love you for this. And when you get to the end, you're just going to put a stud. All right? So just put an X on the end because there's going to be a stud on the end. Now you can roll your tape in. Take your square and go back and draw all of your 16 inch marks through both plates and set the X's ahead the whole way down. Draw them straight across. Hook your tape on so it slides on the lumber. It's nice and tight. And get right across your mark you made and pull your pencil through both pieces. Everywhere that we have one of these, there's going to be a stud in the wall. Okay? Now that plate is perfectly laid out. Now you can see our red line keeps on going for about another 16 feet. So what we're going to do then is we're going to cut two more plates after we build this wall, and we'll continue on with this same layout. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that once we build this wall and get it up into position. Okay, now that we got our plates laid out, what I did was I stacked my plates one on top of the other. I've got my green plate on the bottom, which is pressure treated. We always have pressure treated on the floor in a basement. All of our bottom plates of all of our walls will be PT, pressure treated. The top plate will be regular 2x4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the plates into position where the wall's actually going to be. Now remember, we set our X's on the back side towards the wall on that first red line. So we're going to slide our plates onto that line and get it right on the chalk line from end to end. Alright? And then I told you I was going to show you about this 3.5 inch line that we made when we started to lay it out. What you're going to do is you're going to slide your plates down until that line lines up with the red line on your second wall. Okay? Let me show you what we're going to do. Drag them down. And if you look straight down with the camera there, shoot straight down on that, Chris. Straight down. You'll see that the 3.5 inch line lines up with your next wall that we're going to build on the side wall. Okay? The reason we're doing that is because when we build this wall, we've got 3.5 inches of meat here that we're going to be able to nail into this wall. Okay? This wall really doesn't start until this line this way. Okay? Because we're on this side in the room here. So you take your 3.5 inch line, you slide your plates down until you're exactly on that line. And that's where you'll start. Okay? So when we stand this wall up once it's built, this is the position that this wall will be in relation to your 3.5 inch line and the wall line for your second wall. Alright? And that may sound confusing, but just do as I'm doing, and I promise you your framing is going to come out perfectly. So what we're going to do next is we're going to measure off of these two plates, off the top of these plates stacked together, all the way up to our floor joists. And when we do that, when we make that measurement, those will be the measurements for each stud that's going to go into this wall. So the first thing we're going to do, start here in the corner, place our tape on top of the plates. As you can see how I hold my tape here. What I do is I bend my tape and I roll it up. Okay, so what you do is take your tape out of its case a little bit, bend it, and then hold on to one end and roll your tape up. See how I'm doing that? Roll your tape up. That way it doesn't matter how high the ceilings are, you'll be able to reach the floor joists. So keep your tape on the plate, roll your tape up, and I'm measuring up there. I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. We're about 102 1/8 of an inch up there. So what I do is I take the closest 1/8 of an inch, okay, and I make that my measurement. So I'm at 102 1/8. I'll go down to 102. That way I'm not jamming my wall into position. I'll always go about 1/8 of an inch less than what my tape's measured. So I'm at 102 1/8, I'll go 102. And I'm going to check this in about 5 different spots the whole way down this wall to see if we can cut them all the same. I may have to cut them some longer than the other. So let's go to the next one. 102 1/8. 102 1/8. 102 1/8. All right, they're running pretty good at 102 1/8. Come down here a little bit further. We don't have to do it on every stud. Okay, now we're at 102 1/8. Down here again. 102 1/8. Okay, it looks like we're going to be able to cut them all the same. All right, so they all measured 102 1/8, so I'm going to take the next 1/8 down in that measurement, which is 102. I'm going to count my studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 studs, 102 inches. So I have a cut man over here today. My brother John's cutting for me. You may be doing this project yourself, but he's going to cut me those studs 102, and I'll be right back with you, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with those studs and exactly how we're going to build this wall. Okay, we're ready to start building our first wall. I just got my first 2 studs sent over at 102 from the saw, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do here with these plates. What I like to do is, let me move these lights back here. What I like to do after I build my wall complete is grab the wall and stand it up and slide it into position. So the way that I put my plates when I build my wall is like this. I always put my top plate against the wall that I'm building. And I take my bottom plate up the other end. Sit it here for now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put all of our studs into position, 1 stud on each X. Now, something else that a lot of new guys do is they don't sight their lumber. Now, 2x4s are wood. It was once a tree. It's not perfectly straight. So we have to look at these studs and make sure that there's no backs in them that will cause a hump in our wall. All right? If there is, just put them aside and use them up for smaller stuff later. So I'm going to look down these studs, and as I'm looking down this first stud, I'm noticing that there's a crown in it. And a crown is another word for a back. It's got a bow in it when I'm looking down it. Now, we don't look down our lumber this way. We don't look down this way. We turn it on edge because that's the way it's going in the wall, and we look down it. If there's a crown in it, a hump in it, we put the humps up. All right? This does have a hump in it. I'm putting the hump up. And what I'll do is, find a pencil here. I'll mark the stud with an arrow like this, indicating what's up. In case one of them falls over, I'll remember which way was up, so I don't have to sight them again. So I'm going to put that into the wall, like so. Right down there on the pencil line with the X, covering the X. Next stud, sight. Go to sight it first. That one was pretty straight, and I'm going to put it down there, and I'm going to cover that X, just like that. That's where it's going to be nailed into my wall. All right, and I'm going to go down through here for all 13 of these and do the exact same thing. I'm going to sight them, and I'm going to stick them into position in the wall. Once I get all 13 in here, I'll be right back with you.